Hey y'all, Nev here from One Deal Away, and it's been a while since we've done the walk and talk. But as I'm walking around, I decided for the first time in a while to not listen to anything or anyone, to just go for a walk and kind of connect with my own thoughts and evaluations based off of what I have been learning and finding out about the markets, the economy, and that kind of stuff. And so where we are right now, this is, June 7th today. I've been doing morning shows on Money Matters morning show where we go live, and so that show has actually been quite amazing because obviously, aside from getting me to go out and go live every single day, which is a goal that I've had for a while, but I was just always weirded out by the whole thing, and then B, couldn't figure out how to do it. But now I'm getting used to the whole thing, and it's not as weird as I thought it was before. It's just like this. It's just like this. When I record it on my own and I don't edit it, I just post it out, I'm done. And so if it has a misspelling or missaying or, a goof, it's okay. It's right there in the video, and that's that. So the cool piece about the whole thing is, aside from getting over my own fears, which has a lot to do with the mindset, that when we go out to try to do new things, we tend to doubt ourselves, right? And rightfully so. I mean, if you've never done it, you're like, I don't know how to do that. So then you think of yourself like, I'm gonna make a fool of myself, people are gonna laugh, like, what if I make a bad call, what if I say something wrong? And the same can go from, obviously not just for going live and doing the shows and talks and that kind of stuff, which, by the way, doing the shows and talks and that kind of stuff doesn't freak me out. For whatever reason, was just going live online, that was weird for me. But getting over that stuff, what the cool piece was that, not the cool piece, I'll talk about the cool piece in a moment, and we're not gonna edit this, we're gonna see the whole 9 yards, you get to see the hot mess that I am. But the mindset, the fear part, is that not just about speaking, it also does the same thing when it comes to investing. And, if you've purchased before and you made the right call, and like you purchased an asset and you made the right call and you made some money, whether by capital gains or by passive income, whatnot, then you're like, get a little bit more confident. Part of the problem and challenge with that is that when you get more confident, you can sometimes get a bit more cocky, meaning you're not paying attention to the details, which is where you end up potentially harming yourself and your wealth, and then you kind of go back. The second piece that also comes in place with it is that if you have done it and you've accumulated some cash, I've seen people sort of take the foot off the gas and potentially start to pump on the brakes because of the fear of losing stuff. That too is not necessarily the best methodology, because you miss on some amazing opportunities by just trying to hold on to it and preserve it. And in the day and age where money is being printed left, right, and sideways, and I know we're in deflation right now, but we could enter into the inflation, you are potentially harming yourself from the ability to increase your wealth that much more. So that's on that side when it comes to mindset. On the side that if you've never done it, it feels really weird, it feels awkward, you don't know what to click on, you don't know what to do. I see that a lot happening. Hopefully this wind, you're not hearing as much, so hopefully you can hear me. My apologies. But if you've never done it, you don't know where to click, you don't know how to evaluate, you don't know what's going on, so you try to listen to the person that says, buy this stock, or sell that bond, or buy this crypto, or leverage that house, or whatever, right? And so you do it because you figure they know better than you do, and so you do it, but you don't necessarily understand why they would say something like that, and whether it makes sense for you, because it could make sense for them, but it might not make sense for you. So that's sort of a thing to consider. So, and that's the part that if you've never done it, then it's kind of scary. So where I believe the best thing to do is go and learn a little bit, and then go try it. I'm not saying, like, if we're going to talk about the crypto, for example, and the reason I talk about it because I teach the class right now that you can join, that I'd love for you to join, and it's still free right now that we're creating and recording it. And it's the basic stuff that is super easy to understand, but it gives you an ability to understand what to pay attention to and why it's so exciting, why people are excited about it. So you learn a little bit, and then you go out and then you try it, right? So you go and you take the class. Of course, we're offering for free right now, but you learn a little bit, and then you go out and you say, you know what, I'll put $10. And for some of you, $10 might be way too much, right? Which is fine. I'm just saying, on average, in United States, $10 is maybe a lunch, right? Like, not like even a fancy lunch, actually. It's just like a lunch. So it's not a huge amount of money that if you lost all of it, your world would be shattered. You go out, test it out with $10. See what happens. Hold on to it. Test it out by transferring to another wallet, right? Test it out by maybe sending it to a friend. Maybe not the whole 10. Maybe you send just $1, right? It's okay. So you get the ability to sort of play around with it, because the ultimate goal is to get comfortable with it. Once you get some comfort level, then you enter the stage of make sure you don't become too cocky, right? Or too fearful and too protective. So then you got to deal with that side of the mindset. That's sort of the mindset component of it. Now on the second side, on the flip side, there is the market forces. And market forces are really interesting these days, because when I go out and take a look at sort of, as we've been reading this stuff in the morning and I've been researching it, so I feel like I'm gaining all this knowledge every single day, and it's compounding to the point where, I know people are like, oh, I read this in the news. I'm like, I read that like 2 days ago. Like, I am so far ahead of folks these days because of it. And that's really where the power comes in. And that's the reason why I decided to do the show at 7 a.m., which I know is like ridiculously early, but yet that's where we are. So it's a power of sort of combining all these different sources into the knowledge. And what I have been learning and discovering is that we're a very interesting time and space in the world right now, both geopolitically, socially, economically. So it's almost like the entire world in all these different concepts has sort of come to a head and culmination point that, it has a potential to go any which way. And at this moment, right now, looking at it, it's impossible to predict exactly in which direction it's going to go. It's not going to stay this way because it can't. Nothing can sustain at this level of sort of like standing at the head, right? Of everything collides in one area. But it has the potential to go amazingly well and horribly wrong. And because of uncertainty of where we are, it makes it very hard to make some calls when it comes to good time to buy, bad time to buy, good time to invest, bad time to invest. So some of those things are a bit murky, and it makes it a bit interesting and different to kind of look at it and consider. I think that there are pockets that are really good, that are poised really well. Crypto is one of those pockets, but even there I see some inconsistencies and some potential for a short-term down. Gold, same thing. I expect the gold to actually go down some. We were at 750, 770 maybe a month ago, maybe a little bit less. We were at, last time I checked it, which was 2 days ago, right around 1700. So we dropped some. I don't know if that was the drop or just a drop, and there's more to come. So that's the uncertainty piece. So for right now, when all of those things happen, I always go back to, if you want to sort of participate in the precious metals markets, I think that that's fine. Long term, definitely. Crypto, same thing. Long term, definitely. But right now, when I look at everything else, I'm just waiting to see what happens. There are certain things that you want to be early for. That's for sure. There's things that you don't want to necessarily be late to the party. But there are certain things that you don't want to be the test bunny, so to speak, right? there are certain things in life, in the world, that I want to be tested, and not on me or my money, so that I know kind of how it works and how it, which direction it goes. So that's kind of where I am right now. So I'm taking a very conservative approach. I still am, I have mixed feelings about real estate because, you know, on one hand, when it comes to the commercials and that kind of stuff, especially in smaller and industrial towns, at this moment I have a hard time seeing the future for it. But when it comes to like residential, especially in towns where people want to live, where the economy is growing, which that's sort of with a grain of salt because nothing is really growing right now. But overall, post-pandemic, I guess, when it's growing and there are jobs that are being added and there are companies that are being started, that kind of makes sense for me. I'm very bullish in that regard. Now, the part that is throwing a wrench right now within the real estate industry and the whole where the jobs are created is the new way of how we are working. Vast majority of the companies are starting to go predominantly online, if not 100% offline, and some of them are going sort of like halvesies. The tricky part with that is that you could have a very strong company in, I don't know, Dallas, Texas, for example, but it doesn't mean that that company is hiring people from Dallas, Texas to work there. So they're creating jobs, but the jobs may not be necessarily created in that location. They might be hiring people from all over US. So they have 2 employees in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and 3 in Atlanta, Georgia, and 5 in Mobile, Alabama, and right, like all over the place. And, you know, they might have 20 in India. So that's the part that makes it very tricky now, looking at the future of how do you evaluate real estate, because before it was, you know, if a particular employer sets foot in a particular town, you could guesstimate how many people they would hire. You could guesstimate that, yeah, potentially many people move there, they'll have a job, so property will go up and it will make sense to rent there. But now in the age of everything going mobile, that's much more harder to tell. So for that, I am starting to triangulate the data by not just considering the jobs, but considering different aspects of what an individual might want and need to want to live somewhere, right? And so I think people want a community. People want a place where they can go and be safe and, you know, where they can go be themselves, to play, to eat out, to socialize, to, you know, have access, easy access for stuff, but they also want a bit more affordability. So now, you know, I want to look at the future. I think that that's kind of where we're entering, that some of the old data is not going to be as useful, is to look at some of the other aspects of what makes somebody want to move somewhere where job is no longer part of the equation. Because before the pandemic, job was a big part of the equation of why you move somewhere. I mean, if we're being really honest, I moved to Providence, Rhode Island for a job. I've been wanting to move back to New England because I wanted to be closer to the East Coast, because I wanted to have faster, cheaper flights to Europe so that I can go back to Europe, go home, visit my family, and that kind of stuff, right? So that was my reason for it. But Providence on its own was because of the job, right? So now let's imagine if I could have a job anywhere in the world and I can live anywhere in the world. Would you choose a particular location now because the headquarters are there? Maybe, maybe not, right? So we have to start discounting some of that stuff in our evaluations of the markets. And what exactly that is going to look like, I don't know, but it is something that I'm looking at. And the reason I'm sharing with you is because I'm all for education. So I want you to start considering some of those things. So hopefully this was helpful to you. Until next time, stay forever money blessed. And do remember, you are only one deal away.